the session, Elsevier, where to publish. We are very pleased to have you all here today for this informative session. Our speaker today, Dr. Penny A, is the platform consultant for Southeast Asia at Elsevier ScienceDirect. He will share with us some tips and tools to help us navigate in the complex and dynamic landscape of academic publishing. I am sure that this session will be very beneficial for all of us, especially for those who are planning to submit their paper soon. Before we begin, I would like to thank all the participants for support this library event. And I would also like to thanks to the UMPSA Postgraduate Association for collaboration with us for organizing this event. Your support and contribution are greatly appreciated. It is my pleasure to invite Dr. Benny to continue this session.
Good morning everyone. Thanks Puan Abida for the kind introductions earlier. Right, so as we introduced, I'm Benny, the representative from Elsevier, particularly look after ScienceDirect and also Scopus, right? So, as being invited by the UMPSA library, so I'm here to share some of the useful tricks with you on the academic publishing, particularly on where to publish, a guide to find the right journal for your manuscript publication. So as I was also informed, most of the participants here are postgraduate students. You approach library saying that you have a need in getting to know more tips and also more insight on where you should submit, right? So without further ado, so let me start this session. So my talks will include the following. I will talk about the warning signs of a predatory journal, which I think this will remain a problem in the higher education as well as academic publishing in Malaysia and the rest of the world. And 7 essential questions to ask when you are evaluating a journal. Checklist to determine whether a journal is reputable one or not. Yeah, and also I will showcase to you the tool to find the journal based on various selection criteria. Right. So as the as a write from Elsevier, I think I should not be telling you how to write, but instead you should know better than me how you should construct your paper, how you should write off your manuscript, but then I think it will be important for me to share with you after you constructed your manuscript where you should go next and how to go next. Yeah, and that is why I'm standing here in front to share with you this morning the useful information that I think you should know, right? Because I will be the same like every one of you. I'm still writing papers. I'm still publishing, and occasionally I'm still performing peer review for some of the articles that I think within my expertise, right? So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask during the Q&A session. Yeah. So when it comes to finding a journal, how and where to search for the suitable titles, and hopefully after this sharing sessions, by reviewing and applying the do and don'ts within this page, right, it helps you to increase the chance and the likelihood of publishing in the right journal for your work. Because if you can search for a right journal for your submission, it will increase the chance of being accepted, or at least to proceed into the peer review session after your submission. And identifying the right title is not easy. In addition to using this guide, it can help you to identify and apply the selection criteria. So first and foremost, when you are finding a journal, start the search by consulting your network. This is what we usually do and what I usually do as well. So ask your colleagues and peers for their recommendation. You have junior, you have senior in your lab, you have supervisors, you have co-supervisors, right, within your network. So that will be the first thing that they will do, because they might have published a few papers, and they will tell you this turnaround time for this journal is fast, right? They will tell you the feedback from the peer reviewer are very constructive, right? So they will give you some sort of tips like that where you usually start from, yeah. And of course, sometimes when you identify a journal, might be a mirror journal or fake journal, you can also book a consultation with a librarian that they might be the information expert that can help you through on this part, right? And you can also find a journal by continuing the online searching scholarly resources. So first of all, you can also look at where the articles that you have cited were published. And second of all, note the journal reference in the bibliography of key papers in your field. And the third one, search for the authors in your field and discover where they are publishing. So I believe that this is not something new for us. We've been doing this quite often, correct? Sometimes when you read other people's papers, you will also see, oh, these papers are quite similar, the level of the quality is quite similar, probably I can try in the same journal that I am reading for that papers, right? And sometimes when you read other papers, you can also look at their reference. Their reference may provide you some of the clue, some of the ideas, some of the insight that similar paper where they usually go, okay? And of course, when you are in your particular field, your expertise, you should know who are the authors that usually publishing a lot. This can be searched by using Scopus data, where we can talk about it more in the subsequent slide, right? So, when you search for a journal, there are some of the criteria that you would like to consider. The first one, what is your manuscript format? This is what I usually mention, the important part for this. Why is that? In Elsevier, we have more than 4,000 titles of journals. And these 4,000 plus titles of journal, they have different aim and scope. Some of them, they accept original research articles. Some of them, they accept the review article only by invitation. Some of them, they only accept review articles without invitation. Mean the whole journal, they are only publishing review articles. Some of the journals, they are accepting only original research article but not review article at all. Yeah? And some of the journal accept data only. And this data, this particular journal is quite new. It's called Data in Brief. Yeah? So I will talk about it, about what is the data paper about, how you can go for it. Yeah? So when you get to know your manuscript format, then you will know how to select the right journal. Yeah? Because sometimes when you can see some of the Elsevier paper publishing review articles, so you thought you can go with it, but after that you only get to know, oh, the publishing the review articles for that journal are only by invitation. So if you were not being invited by the editor and you submit your review article over there, you probably will get turned off and turned away, and they will reject because you were not being invited, right? So it is very important to know, to identify your manuscript format at first. And the second one, do you want or do you need to publish open access? This is the hot question. As far as I know, in Malaysia, whenever you apply for a grant, there is no compulsory mandate for you to publish your outcome in open access journals. Correct me if I'm wrong, whether you are applying FRGS, PRGS, mostly grant, there have not been any criteria to state that it is mandatory to publish your outcome in open access journals, right? So this is the second question that you need to ask yourself: do you want or do you have a need to publish open access? Anyone that is a fan or is heading towards open access publishing here? No. If there is, then I would also like to know why you like to publish open access, because there is a reason behind. Yeah, if you are collaborating, your collaborators are from the Western countries, right? Then possibly based on the grant requirement of your collaborator, then you need to publish open access. So that is the reason behind. Yeah. So I hope that I won't be listening to the reason, oh, I'm publishing open access because it is easy and it is a fast track for acceptance. So that would not be the good reason behind, and that is not true at all. Why? Because in Elsevier, whether you choose for open access publishing or you choose for subscription-based publishing, the length of the process and also the pathway on the peer review serve no different. Yeah. So in Elsevier, you go for OA or not OA, it will not jeopardize the outcome of your publication. It's the same. So in other publishers, I'm not sure because I cannot speak on behalf of them. But in Elsevier, I would like to stress it out again, whether you're publishing open access or not, the acceptance rate will remain the same. Okay? You will not be given special privileges or special treatment on the submission or the submitted articles. Right? There serves no difference in outcome of your submission of your articles. And the third one, are you seeking a title with a multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary focus? So depending, you have such preference or not. Because some of the articles, they are quite broad. They accept everything under life sciences, or they accept everything under engineering. So depends whether you have such needs or you have such preference. Or some people say, no, I only want this. I am doing material science, and I only wanted to publish in material physics. Yeah. So this is purely your preference. And the next one, do you want to publish with a specific publisher? Again, this is a preference. Some people have a special preference with certain publishers, just like my supervisors during my postgrad. Until today, her first choice is still Elsevier. And her second choice is Springer Nature. And she will never put any full open access publishers in her list. First of all, she said she got no money. Second of all, the grant cannot be afford to pay such high amount of ABC. So her first choice always goes to Elsevier subscription-based journals. Right? So the next one, are you publishing research data or other output alongside the articles? Nowadays, we have this journal called Data in Brief. Under Elsevier, this journal called Data in Brief. So I would like to ask all of you, your research data turned out to be negative, it is still a data, it is still a finding. Yes, it is still, for me, it's still valuable still to publish. At least to let people know, after you've gone through all this experimentation and methodology, it turns out to be negative. It's good and important to let people know not to repeat such mistakes. Yeah. So that is how we came out with a journal called Data in Brief. You can make full use of this journal to publish your data, whether it is negative data or positive data. Yeah. So again, I believe that you will also ask me, after I publish this set of data, can I still make use of this data to publish in full papers? Full papers mean you will need to write a long analysis, discussions, a statistical analysis, result that is considered full-length paper. Yes, you still can. If you are hardworking enough, go ahead. Yeah. But I believe that your supervisor will still want a full paper to be published, at least to let people know what is the outcome of your research, what is the outcome of all your experimentation. It is still important to go for full paper publication, to discuss the analysis, to discuss the result, to showcase to people how you analyze the result. Okay? So, if you say you have a need to publish open access because I have a collaborator from the Western country, then you can make full use of a tool to help you to find the open access journal. So there are three here. The first one is the DOAJ. It's a community curated online directory, indexes and links open to peer review journals and also open access peer review journals. And the second one is Inago Open Access Journal Finder. And third one, of course, something familiar to you that you'll be using from the day-to-day basis, Scopus. Scopus is a source-neutral, expertly curated abstract and citation database, and you can filter out or filter in open access journal for your reference purpose. That is only as when you have a need and when you want to publish open access. Yeah. So in addition, you can publish your article open access in many hybrid journals which combine subscription and OA content. So later I will showcase to you on the tool called Elsevier Journal Finder. So when you get to use the tool, then you will find out, you will get to know how it looks like to determine whether this journal is open access or subscription based. When we talk about hybrid journal means you have a choice in that journal. When you submit your article, you can pick for subscription based, you don't pay any single cent for publication. Or if you take OA, means I understand the rules. If my paper got accepted, I will have to fork out the money to pay for the ABC. So in Elsevier, we have a lot of hybrid journals, right? I particularly go for hybrid journal as when my supervisors grant not enough for me to pay for ABC. Yeah, so you have a choice. Always have a choice. Doesn't mean that you don't have a choice. You have a choice. Yeah. And if you opt for multidisciplinary journals for your publication, then there are a few tools and platforms available to help you to identify the potential titles, whatever your discipline or fields includes. EDA Journal Selector, Journal Guide, Scopus, Outreach Web, Global Serial Directory. So, if you say I have a publisher specific preference, then depends on what is your preferred publisher, then you go for the tool set or created by that particular publisher. If you say I am Elsevier fan, then we have Elsevier Journal Finder, which I will have a simple slide to walk you through later on how you can make use of Elsevier Journal Finder to find the right title for your manuscript submission. If you say I'm a Springer Nature fan, then we have Springer Nature Journal Suggester, and subsequently we have Wiley Journal Finder as well. Depends what is your preference. So now come to talk about this Elsevier Journal Finder. Right? Elsevier Journal Finder's feature is a free feature that you can just Google Elsevier Journal Finder that it will lead you through and land at this page. Yeah? So what I usually do, I will copy my abstract and then I paste in the column. Then I click match my abstract and you click find journals. When you do this, they will do the matching for you and land out in this page. Yeah. I make use of my papers for your demo. Yeah. So what we will see in this, I highlight in the red box. So there are still important parameters should come into your consideration. The first one, of course, you need to know what is the metric of this journal, what is the site score, and what is the impact factor. I think that requested by your supervisor. Yeah. And you will also like to know the acceptance rate. So I will also talk about the acceptance rate later. Yeah. And you will also like to know the time to first revision. You wouldn't like your paper to be hanged in the publishing system for too long. For half a year, for 3 months, you don't know what's the progress. Yeah. Time to first revision doesn't mean that they will deliver you the accepted or rejected. Time to first revision, at least they will let you know, is your paper has been sent to peer review or is your paper rejected right away. As fast as for this journal is 3 weeks, then you will get to know what is the updated status. Yeah. And time to publication, I think not really important in Malaysia, because so long you get to accept I mean the publishers accepted your papers, you can graduate, you can go for YY. You doesn't need to wait for the publication. But in certain countries like China, they need to wait for the accepted proof. Yeah, has been published online, then they can only conclude the whole KPI. But in Malaysia, so long you have a letter of acceptance, then you can go for YY. Yeah, and the publishing option for this journal, when I highlight in the second box, you see two logos. The first logo is open access. The second logo is subscription. When you see two logos together under that journal, means this journal is hybrid journals. Hybrid journal, you have an option, you have a choice to go for whichever that you think suitable. If we don't have sufficient funds to pay for EPC, of course we go for the second one, no publishing charge. As simple as that. Yeah? And if you see biomedicine and pharmacotherapy journal, you can only see open access there. What does that mean? Mean you like it or not, if you submit there, after it got accepted, you have to pay for publishing charge. You have to pay for EPC. You have no choice. That is the full gold open access journal. Right? Hybrid journal, you have a choice. Full gold open access journal, you have no choice. Right? So if you make full use of this tool, you get to see a lot of insights. You get to see the impact factors, you get to see the site score, you get to see the acceptance rate, you get to see the time to first division. Yeah? For us, of course, we go for a high acceptance rate. But again, the high acceptance rate, sometimes the impact factor for the journal is not that high. So you need to take a balance. Okay? So far, any questions on that part? Up to that part? Before I proceed to this part. Okay? So, come to a quite important part for this session is the key questions to consider as you evaluate the journal that you have identified. There are many journals in Scopus. Or there are many journals in or not in Scopus as well. So how are you going to evaluate the journals? Whether is it good to go or not? Yeah? So here I listed out 7 questions that you should ask yourself for evaluation purpose. The first one, is the manuscript the right fit for the journals? Are there any funder institutional metrics to consider? Is the journal visible in the community you want to reach? Is there a reasonable chance of acceptance? Is the journal indexed in all relevant databases? What do the journal metrics reveal? And is the journal reputable, including practicing robust peer review? So I will go to each of these criteria one by one. So is the manuscript the right fit for the journals or not? That is the first thing that we need to know and we need to investigate. Do the research on the journal aim and scope on the journal information page. That is very important. You cannot say based on the journal title, biomedicine and pharmacotherapy, my articles or my manuscript fits into it. Without reading the aim and scope, that is the wrong things to do. Yeah? Always read the aim and scope because this may provide you more details how to proceed to next and what sort of things the journal are looking at. Right? And also look at the recent article. Based on this information, assess whether your paper is a good fit. You cannot assume that 5 years ago, during my master's, I published here with similar parameters. And now I'm doing my PhD, I'm assuming that it is still a good to go for these journals. But you know that technology keep evolving, yeah, keep advancing. 5 years ago, they might still accept these parameters, but not for now anymore. During my master's time, ELISA is still very much applicable to be accepted for publication. But nowadays, if you make use of ELISA, you need to top up with many other parameters to validate your result. Yeah. Nowadays, people go for gene sequencing. People go for many others more advanced techniques. So look at the recent 3 years or 2 years publication of that journal to see the trends of the publication and the trends of the papers, what are the journals usually looking at. So I was just receiving one question from the IU in Malaysia. Nowadays it seems that whoever doing cancer work, cancer research, by just doing on one cell line is not quite acceptable anymore in some of the prominent journals. They are requesting for more cancer cells to be tested. Yeah? So this is some sort of similar phenomena or similar scenario that you have to look at. Right? So don't submit without checking the journal aim and scope. A key reason that editor immediately reject the manuscript is that the paper is a poor fit for that journals. So have anyone encountered similar things? Oh, I have read the papers, why that papers got accepted, and I did the similar parameters and my paper got rejected by that journals. Anyone encounters this experience before? Anyone? Don't be shy. Just raise your hand if you did. Anyone? None? Not yet. So if you encounter this, don't be sad, because I also had similar question before, and I had a chance to meet up with the editor-in-chief last time during the conference. I actually asked this question to the editor-in-chief. So he gave me a very, very useful answer. He said, as when you know, as when you read that paper already published in my journals, where is your history for me to accept your paper? As you said your paper having a similar parameters, you just twist a bit, then you resubmit to me and you expect me to accept. So where is the novelty? As the journal editor-in-chief, they are looking for the most novel insight, most novel data, most novel outcome for them to publish so that they can gain the attraction of the reader to go into the journal to download and read your papers. So that is why they have to reject the similar papers, so-called similar, but people got it published, but you didn't get it published. Alright? And investigate the journals to discover the following: subject areas covered, type of articles considered, disciplines covered, whether supplemental files are welcome, and then also to determine whether this journal is regional or globally reached. Sometimes when you publish, I hope that you publish not the sake of just publish. You also would like to gain some citation to improve your H index. As if your futures you wanted to be the academicians, right? The fellow student here, if you have a wish to go into higher education institution to be the academician, I believe that nowadays people looking for impact factor, looking for H index, looking for citation. If you publish many papers, but none of the papers being downloaded, none of the papers being cited by papers, means your papers could be possibly due to not reaching to the right audience. Okay? And in the recent years, new forms of articles have also emerged alongside journals, particularly to publish them. So one of the things that I mentioned earlier, your data can be published. And data in brief also already in Scopus Index, and if not mistaken, also called impact factor already. Okay? So please feel free to check it out alongside with your full original research articles. And second part, are there any funders or institutional mandates to consider? So do ensure that the journal align with the funder or institutional requirements regarding the publications, because the journal information page will also explain the options around the open access and data publication and use of the system identifier. And publisher website will provide more information on how to comply with specific funding body mandate. So far, this has not been applicable in Malaysia as yet. I have not seen in Singapore as yet, and also many other neighboring countries within Southeast Asia. But this thing is very, very important, as if you are in US or in Europe. They are very, very much focusing on open access publishings and open science. So don't forget to investigate the institutional or funder requirements regarding the publications. Failure to comply could jeopardize future funding or collaboration opportunities. Okay? So the question 3 is the journal read in the community you want to reach or not. So you can check the journal aim and scope for the information on the readership. And in the case for Elsevier journals, there are selected of the journals list that can display a map showing where, how often, and the journal content has been downloaded. So based on this information or based on this insight, you will know if I have a chance, my paper got accepted in this journal, my paper potentially would be downloaded to this particular part of the country or this particular region in the world. So then you will get to know, you can predict my paper probably globally reach. Then I have high chance that my paper will be downloaded, my paper will be cited by people. That is how you can more or less ensure that your paper published will have some readership and will have the chance to gain some citation counts. Okay? And do check whether colleagues and mentor read and recommend that journals or not. And you can find out if the journal papers are indexed in database relevant to your subject area, example PubMed, in the case of life science or biomedical research. Don't publish in the journal that are not reaching the audience who can benefit from your works. When talk about high impact factors, it's always the dream for all the academicians or for all the postgraduate students to go. We always aim high. One day I want to publish in Nature. One day I want to publish in the Lancet. One day I wanted to publish in Peanuts. Who doesn't want that, right? It's the dream. But dream is always the dream. We need to be realistic. Yeah? Do look for the acceptance or rejection rates and factor it into your decision-making process, because not all the journals may offer this information. But for Elsevier, you can get this information in the Elsevier Journal Finder tool. Yeah. Why am I saying that you have to be realistic? I have a friend doing neuroscience research in Hong Kong University. Yeah. His supervisors aiming for the publication to be published in the Nature, but it got rejected, and eventually they internally recommended him to go for Nature Communication instead. Even Nature Communication is still quite high impact within our community. Yeah. It took them more than 12 months to reply and to prepare the manuscript based on the peer review comment from Nature Communication. And they have more than 8 reviewers that providing feedback, and each reviewer feedback is no less than 3 pages A4 papers questions. So if you really think that your work is quality enough to publish in high impact factor journal, do also prepare for enough time for the peer review and for yourself to reply back and to prepare, to edit your manuscript based on the comments sent by the peer reviewers. Okay? And don't submit to a journal extremely unlikely to accept the papers, because if you think quick publication is concerning, quick publication is important for your viva, for your graduation, then you have to play a balance between it. Right? So if you lose your time spent submitting and waiting for editor and review comment, and in the end, if you think that the chances for rejection is still high, and you eventually wasted a lot of time. Yeah? And if you receive the constructive comment upon rejection, be sure that you incorporate them before submitting to earning journals. So nowadays for me, I think it positively. Rejection might not be something bad. If the rejection came with constructive comment, I would say that it is a free consultation service on my paper. Right? Based on the feedback that provided by the peer review, it helped me to improve further. Sometimes the view, sometimes the perception, sometimes the feedback that provided by the peer reviewer are actually outside of what we can see with ourselves or our supervisors or our co-supervisors. Right? So if you think that comments are reasonable, please feel free to repair your manuscript based on their feedback. Yeah? Who knows, it helps you to submit to a higher impact metric journals after you improve it. Right? So sometimes it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing at all. But if you receive the email within 24 hours after you submitted your article, that usually indicate bad sign. Means you receive text rejection. Not even reaching on the hand of editor or peer reviewer, your paper got rejected. So if you receive the email midnight, because usually the publisher are overseas, if you receive that midnight, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, if you are sensitive with that, try not to read it until the next morning, or otherwise you can't sleep. Yeah. Nowadays, the turnover time for the publisher is quite fast. So if you are not fitting the right aim and scope of the journal, then they will send the rejection right away, and we call this a text rejection. Okay? And question 4, is there a reasonable chance of acceptance? Again, I would like to check with all of you, if you think that it is not really having high chance to get into that journal, then we have to be realistic. Yeah? Don't waste your time too much on that. Unless you say that, wow, my finding is eventually can change the world, or my finding can really help to save the world, then go for it. Or otherwise, just be realistic. Okay? And is the journal indexed by a relevant database or not? It is important in Malaysia for us. If you publish in a non-indexed journals, it will not be recognized as the KPI for the academician. And as a student, I think you cannot graduate. Right? So what is the requirement for the master's or PhD on the publishing requirements in UMPSA? Masters, 1 or 2? 1 scopus, accepted or submitted? Accepted. For PhD? Accepted. Accepted as well. So submitted, not considered anymore, right? Okay. So, it is important to search for the journal in a scholarly database that has rigorous selection process such as Scopus or Web of Science. Don't rely solely on the journal claim to be listed in database, because predatory journal, the bad journals, the naughty journal, that usually makes false claim. So, if you go to the website of the journal, they put a Scopus logo there. They put the WOS logo there. Then you will believe that. Sometimes, yes, you say I'm lazy to check. They claim it means they are indexed. But if you lazy, you have the potential, a high potential that falls into your trap. Sometimes they even make the misleading claim. They will say, oh, this journal having the impact counts instead of impact factor. They try to like confuse you. Instead of site score, they say site metrics or site points. So you will tend to link it, oh, you have site score, it's already index focus. Got impact factor already in WOS. But you did not counter check, you did not do the double validation with the relevant databases, and you publish it, one accepted, got it, bye. Yeah. So if you have questions or if you think this journal is a little fishy, check with Scopus. It's not difficult. Scopus is freely accessible by all the public university in Malaysia. KPT pays for it. But just go into scopus.com, check the journals. Yeah. If the journal is still actively indexed in Scopus, it will list there. If it is not, it will say discontinued from when and started from when it has been discontinued. If you don't find that journal in Scopus, means it has never been indexed in Scopus at all. Yeah, it's not too difficult to check. Just take 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes to check, and you get a piece of money. Okay? For your information, all the journals that submitted to Scopus will go through the review by the Independent Content Selection and Advisory Board called CSAB. So for the inclusion in Scopus, the basic requirements for that journal must have peer review process, English and track, regular publication, Roman scripts, references, publishing ethics statement, and if it is new journal, then there might be a time lag before it is included in databases. Because for a new journal to grow, it takes about 2 to 3 years. Yeah, for the journals to gain enough citation, to gain enough paper to prove to scopers that they are good before we include them. So actually, we can't conclude that all the non-index journals are bad. Sometimes the new journals simply need time to grow. Okay. So do search within an abstract and citation databases such as Scopus that allow you to find and compare journals based on several citation metrics. So don't solely rely on one number or type of metric when deciding where to publish. In Elsevier Scopus, we have this site score checks real time. So sometimes when the journal or publisher turns bad, they will do some hanky-panky stuff, right? So how are the signs and how are the symptoms look like when they becoming bad? So let's say this journal, all this while, the accepted paper is just between 100 to 200 each. Suddenly, when you check by Scopus the outcome of the paper published in this journal, and this year onwards started to go up to 1,000, 2,000, that is a warning sign. This will trigger the red flag in Scopus team to do the investigation for that journal. Yeah, and if you see this warning sign and if you still submitting there after the investigation by Scopus, and we decide to discontinue indexing in Scopus, then your paper that published there will be a problem with them. Yeah. Second thing, the citation count. If they play games on the citation or not. Let's say citation count for this journal all this while is steadily increased. But suddenly you see a steep increase, that is also another warning sign. Yeah. And the third one, also the dropping of the quality of the site score. So in Scopus, you get to see the site score of that journal along the way. Yeah. So all this while you can see probably steadily increase, but suddenly you see steadily decrease. That also a mild decrease is fine. But let's say the site score suddenly from 6 to become 1, then that is a steep decrease. That also you need to be aware of. You need to be alert. Yeah, and this type of symptoms and signs usually happen only at the Q3 and Q4 journals. Yeah, so if you are all this while maintaining the quality, you only submitting to Q1 and Q2, that usually don't bother you a lot. Yeah, but those people that always want to play shortcut, go for unknown publishers. That already turned bad, and yet under the investigation of Scopus, then you are actually at the risk. Because I've been receiving a lot of inquiries. Hi, Dr. Benny, my papers have been accepted in this journal, but how come it's not visible in Scopus? So when I check, the papers is published, yes, but the Scopus, the journal has been discontinued in Scopus. Then they will query me. How come my paper is not in Scopus? Can you help me? But I can't do anything because I don't control Scopus, and Scopus don't control by Elsevier. Scopus is reviewed by the CSAB, the independent committee. Yeah. So whatever you publish after the journal has been discontinued will not be visible on the list of Scopus anymore. So there is nothing that I can do about it. Okay? And the San Francisco Declaration on Research Assessment DORA and other initiatives have recently recommended a reduced focus on the impact factors, alternative approaches including NIH relative citation ratio and Elsevier site score. But depending on the country, yeah, for China they are still very much on WOS impact factor. For Malaysia, we accepting both Scopus and impact factors. Yeah, so this is just for your reference. Is the journal reputable or not? There is no universally agreed definition of a predatory journal or publisher. But however, organizations like COPE and WAME define global publication ethics standard. So if those journals that do not meet those standards will be deemed as predatory. Okay, so far from Elsevier, we don't have a so-called white list or blacklist, and I'm here to increase the awareness among all academicians and postgraduate students how to determine if this journal started to turn bad, and how to differentiate this journal is already a predatory journal. So the responsibility lies on us as well. We need to select the journals well. We need to select the journal carefully before we submit our manuscript for publication purpose. Okay? And this comes to also very important part, the signs of predatory journals. Yeah? Don't ignore the warning signs of a predatory journal, which may include one or more of the followings. The first one, it actively and aggressively solicits submission, often for a fee. I'm not sure about the fellow attendees here. I always receive such email up to today. And this email came from China. 99% came from China. And the soliciting email are very, very badly written, badly drafted, with all the grammatical mistakes. And they'll ask you to submit to them. Sometimes I occasionally receive such email from India as well, or Pakistan publishing. Yeah. And the call for papers email contains spelling and grammatical mistake, as what I mentioned, is not professionally drafted and not professionally written. And when you check about the background of the journals, it has a short publication history, like 4 issues or fewer, even though the journal has existed for several years. And I have checked some of the journals, predatory journal, on my own curiosity purpose. One journals, 1 issue, 2 papers, etc. So that is weird. So if you can utilize Scopus to check the publication outcome, then you will determine the fishy part of that. Yeah? And the fourth one, the scope is very broad. Or the content published doesn't match its stated interest. I got 2 case study later. I will show to you towards the end of this session. Yeah? It's a very good case study that I found it myself. Number 5, it offers rapid publication. They will give you the promise, strong promise. I can get your paper published within 24 hours, 48 hours. How possible is that? First of all, you need to know to review your papers is on the voluntary basis. The peer reviewer don't get paid to review a paper. That means I can only review a paper after office hours or during my free time. So who will be that efficient to review a paper within 24 to 48 hours, and then you also need time to prepare your articles. You take weeks to prepare your articles. So it is not possible at all that you get your paper to publish within 48 hours. It's not possible at all. So there is no such good things in the world that drop from the sky just like that. Yeah, that might be something fishy. So publishing in a predatory journal can have a negative consequences. Your article is not perceived as meeting a quality standard because it lacks peer review. And APC provided by funders or institutions are lost. You are paying for nothing. You are paying to a predatory journal that not indexed. So it's wasted and potentially impacting future grants or career progression opportunity. So the reach of your work could be limited if the journal is not indexed in the leading database, and the work itself may be lost if it is not archived correctly. This came across to a case of my friend got invited to publish for free in one of the journals, but not indexed. Small publishers. After a year, after 2 years, this paper has been published, and this journal goes bankrupt. So whatever that used to show on the Google suddenly missing. A good publisher should have a good archiving service, and the archival service that provided by the third party is not cheap. It's just to ensure that no matter what happened, in the end, your paper is still stored in a safe place. And this kind of bad publisher, they don't usually subscribe to the archival process or the archival services. Yeah? So when this thing happen, if they goes bankrupt, your paper just by just a flip, it's just missing in the sky. Is considered never published at all before. It's wasted. It happened before. Okay? It really happened before. So, do use the following checklist or question to determine whether a journal is reputable or not. And check with a librarian if you have any questions. Yeah? Perhaps if you are the lecturer here, you can share this checklist with your student. And if you yourself a student, please make sure you have this checklist done before you submitting your articles. First of all, is it listed in the relevant journal finder tools or databases? Second one, is it enrolled in COPE? The third one, can you tell who owns the journal or not? Yeah. The fourth one, is the journal published by a well-known reputable society, academic press, or publishing house? I have seen a Malaysian-based journal, predatory journal. They put up an address in one of the apartments in Gulu, and eventually this journal got detected by Scopus and we discontinued them. And there was another publisher put out a non-existent address that cannot be found by using Google Maps. They put fake address. Yeah. So this is also another warning sign. So is it clear or not who the editor and editorial board are? Does it perform some form of peer review? Whether is it single blind or double blind? Are APC and the timing of fees clear? A true, genuine, open access publisher will not charge you APC if your paper has yet to be accepted. APC should only be paid after your manuscript officially accepted, then they will invoice you. If they ask you to pay upfront APC, 99% this journal is predatory. Does the publisher provide details about open access licenses and also their associated fees? Okay. So most of the reputable publishers will enroll their journal in COPE. That's why if you check with COPE, if the journal are found there, mean very likely the journal are good, unless they turn bad halfway. Just like kids, they were good when they were still a baby, when they still a kid. But after 15 years old, 18 years old, they turn bad. It is still possible. Yeah. Of course, when they turn bad, Scopus will know and will have the mechanism to detect them and discontinue them. Okay. So why am I particularly elaborate on this part? Check the address and contact details. Because I've been telling you, a publisher should not register the address under residential. Not possible. Okay? And if the address is in the residential, this is not something right. Again, no mobile phone number should appear on the journal information page. Okay? And be careful if the editor and publisher is the same person, as this can be a warning sign, although it doesn't really always mean that the journal is suspected. Last 5 to 7 years, what always happened was the predatory make use of ghost editor. Nowadays, unlikely happen, but who knows, it will happen again. Ghost editor means a Professor A has never agreed to be invited to be the editorial board or to be the editor for that journal, but their name or their pictures appear there. Scenario B, they make use of Professor A pictures but putting a name of Professor B. It also happened. Scenario C, A and B has never been agreed, but they put up their names there. Right? So this is the common bad practices among predatory publishing. Okay? So if you are not familiar with the editor or member of editorial board, you can verify. You can email them and ask, or you can check the CV. Because being invited as the editor by the journals are part of the KPI university. They usually will put it up and state on their CV. Okay? So peer review is regarded as the cornerstone of scholarly publishing. It's the quality check process. a valuable stamp of approval for a published manuscript. And if a journal submission to publication time is measured in hours or days, and all the APC is payable upfront, then the journal is unlikely to offer you the robust peer review. And a reputable journal is open about its peer review process. We will tell you whether your paper is under single blind or double blind peer review process, describing whether it is singles or is it pre or post publication. Okay? So that's why I tell you that high impact journals usually have many editors involved in the peer review, because they just wanted to make sure that the feedback provided by the peer reviewer can help you to improve the manuscript of the journals. It's actually not to put things difficult for you, but to improve your journals, to improve your manuscript. Of course, I cannot deny, in rare case, occasionally, some of the peer reviewers could be quite harsh in commenting. Yeah. So may I have a check with you? When you receive such unfair, harsh comment, what you usually do? Keep quiet? Accept it? Or how? Any response? Don't be shy. Accept it. Who will accept it? Quietly and cry. Can I have a raise of the hand? Because I personally also checked with editor on this issue before. Yeah. This editor is on a food chemistry journal, and he is from Malaysia. So he personally shared with me also, he feels that sometimes the authors in Malaysia particularly is very passive when they receive unfair comments, unfair treatment. They quiet, they don't defend, they don't appeal. But things go another way around in Western country. If they think they are right, they will write a very professional email with the professional justification, with the data, with the reference, and they will fight back. So he says that he expects such similar things from Malaysia, but till now, things have still not changed. It's still passive. Okay? So when you write such appeal email to blast back, please make sure you have to do it in a very professional way. You have to use data. You have to use the previous publication as reference to reply back. Okay? In this world, we are all data driven. Data is not difficult to find. But if you can justify it in a valid way, I believe that the editor of the journal will step in. In rare case, sometimes the editor-in-chief will also step in to overturn the decision. Who knows? Yeah, you just need to be a little bit more proactive on it. Yeah. And find out what article publishing charges are typically by checking the publisher pricing information. Yeah, it should be easy to find the details, how much you should pay upon accepted. Yeah, all this information must be clearly visible in the open access journal information page. So I promise you that I will show you the case study. So this is the case study. This journal by name is called International Journal of Civil Engineering and Technology. By title, you already know this is engineering-based journals. And from Scopus, you can check on the subject area as well. And the subject area are also all engineering related. So, what happened was, you look at the paper that published by these journals. Sustainability of halal food products, animal urine therapy, the legality of using the turtle leaf. None at all is related to engineering. And this resulted in the discontinuations of the indexing by Scopus for these journals in the year of 2019. So, if you spend a little bit more time on the suspicious journal, you look at the published paper, and if you see that the paper already started to turn fishy, and it is still under Scopus coverage, bear in mind, this might be terminated anytime soon. So if you still want to take a risk, I want to submit that, then the responsibility is on you. Okay? Because it's just a matter of time, of the day, of the week, that once the Scopus team is investigated, they will immediately impose the termination. Right? So, another second case, this journal is called International Journal of Clinical and Experimental Medicine. It used to be in SCI. SCI is the databases from WS, from the Clarivate Analytics. And after checking, it de-escalated, downgraded to ESCI, no longer in SCIE. But when you further check with Scopus, it is already discontinued. If you think that, oh, it is still in ESCI, not bad, I will still go ahead and publish, then the risk and responsibility, you have to bear it. Okay? So, this comes to the end of my sharing sessions. Now I'm open up to the floor for Q&A session. Please feel free to ask any question if you have. Yeah? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The first question is this.
Wait, I can't hit. Yeah, what's your question?
Okay. The first question is this. Possibly somebody publishes paper on a journal that is listed by Elsevier, but later you discover it to be phishing, and you enlisted such a judgment. What is the rescue measure that Elsevier do for such person that has the paper? Okay. Maybe in a way, at least when the person published the paper, it was listed by Elsevier, and it is because of that trust that he published it. Now that the paper is now phishing at the journal, now is there anything Elsevier do for the paper? Maybe taking it to another journal or asking the person to resubmit? I don't know if you get my point.
Okay, whatever paper has been published is published. So once you publish that paper in the journal, when they were still under Scopus coverage, it will still appear in Scopus. But if your paper accepted after the journal has been discontinued from that timeline onwards, it will not be visible in Scopus anymore. But whatever is published, it is published. So no change. Yeah. So whatever that has not been has been published after the discontinuation, there's nothing that you can do anymore. Yeah.
Second question. You said we have journal that accept data only. Can you give us an example, or how do I search for such, maybe a keyword to get them?
So for that, you can go into data and brief and check with the published paper of that journals. That will give you more clues how other people publish the data under data and brief. Yeah, you can check their published papers under archive. You can check through how people write the database.
Sir, please, I want to pass this again. Yeah, I wish to increase my citation. Apart from maybe publishing, is there any other means one can increase one citation that you can give?
So as what I mentioned earlier, you need to choose the right journals to go. whether that journal regional reach or globally reach, or is that a good prominent platform, right? Because if you publish with Elsevier, you publish with Springer Nature, you publish with TNF, you publish with IEEE, I think all these prominent platforms are reachable quite wide globally. So that would be probably one of the tips that can increase the citation. But if you publish with a small publishers, that nobody will go there even just to read, of course, yeah, your paper is accepted, but I don't think people will just download and cite it.
So please lastly, when do you get the acceptance letter? Is it after the first decision by the journal that you get the acceptance letter, or when?
Acceptance rate means out of 100 papers submitted to us, how many of the papers out of 100 got accepted finally?
No, I mean the letter. Once your paper got accepted,
Yes.
when do you get the acceptance letter? Is it after the first decision, maybe after the 3 weeks first decision, or when?
After your paper officially accepted, then they will send you the official email. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Any more questions?
Okay, thank you for your nice presentation. I have 2 questions. The first one is for new journal. For the new journal, as you mentioned, just suppose one journal launched 2023, they will not get the indexing either Scopus or Web of Science. But after publishing that journal, whether our articles will be appear whenever they get the indexing in Scopus database. The first one. You got my question?
You means you published when it was not in index,
Yes.
and eventually after it got index?
Yes.
No.
That means the article will not appear.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Another thing, suppose I published one article, at the time it was indexed in Web of Science or Scopus, but somehow it was discontinued. And then, but whenever I published, it was in index. But after discontinuation, whether my article will withdraw from the Scopus database.
So as what I answered back, whenever your publication published before the discontinuation are safe. After the period of discontinuation, no longer available. So whatever visible on Scopus will remain there. We will not take it away.
Good morning. I want to ask all the Scopus journal with the ranking in Q1, Q2, or just a part of the journal have this ranking. It's easier to search.
Oh, you mean the quartile ranking of the journals, right? Yes. In Elsevier, we make use of Scopus site score to classify the ranking. First 25, second 25, third 25, and fourth 25.
Some the journal, maybe they just go to the Scopus database. The paper can be published in the Scopus, can index the Scopus, but the journal without any ranking, what happened for this? Or we should be to some time, or what we should do?
Those journals that index in Scopus should have ranking. Either the Scopus is indexed in Scopus, but is not indexed in WOS. Are you sure? Yeah. Yeah.
But the journal I can search and discover all the papers, so that we can search and discover the index. But you think the journal know any information?
Because once the journal has site score, right, it should have ranking. Yeah. So either way, you have to check whether this journal has been discontinued or not. You have to check the coverage.
So this new journal, the new just send me from the first issue, it is
Never mind, you can email me anytime. Then I will double check the Scopus name. Yeah. Any more questions?
Hi, Dr. Lenny. Okay, my question is, in some situations, in some cases, right, we go to the conference, and then suddenly we present the papers there, and then the conference manager, give some recommendation to submit our paper to a journal. Okay, and then suddenly we said that no, we don't agree, and we want to retract the document, and then we submit to another publisher, the journalist by ourselves, and then suddenly, I don't know, sometimes magic happen. Then maybe the conference manager is, they look on my request, and then suddenly without any review, and then the paper was published in another one special issue, for example, with the DOI and so on. So, is it possible if the papers are already published, then they have a DOI and so on, been retracted?
Thank you for the question. So once the paper has been published, if you want to retract it, yes, it is possible. With any reason, you can retract it, but the paper will just put one tag there, retracted. Yeah.